Making sure I'm recording. My microphone is on. Perfect. So, I'm going to have a couple of links down below in the description box as always to credit where I'm getting the information from. However, most of what's going to come out of my mouth is literally my own words. It has nothing to do with the articles because I can kind of relate to, some of the stuff here. So, first of all, the plane ride from hell was an infamous incident that happened in May of 2002, nearly 25 years ago. So about 23 years ago, almost a quarter of a century. And it was only in September of 2021, if I'm not mistaken, that there was Vice's Dark Side of the Ring, where they would publish episodes on things that would occur in the world of professional wrestling. By the end of that plane ride, we found ourselves with Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig, Curtis Axel's father, out of a job. He got fired. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, was fired out of a job. Tommy Dreamer, who brushed off the allegations of the stewardess about Ric Flair pushing himself on her, just dismissed it. He was found himself out of a job and off the podcast Busted Open Radio. So, to make it really simple, Flair was accused of pushing himself on someone, and he basically denies the allegations, but he did say something, and I quote, to clarify the helicopter, because what Ric Flair would do, apparently, I say apparently because I wasn't there, opened his robe and he would spin his, like a helicopter as it was called, is accurate. I wish I could blame it on youth, he says, but it was a case of drinking too much and being inappropriate, and I apologize for that and have countless times over the years. He's made some bad decisions during dark periods in his life, he says, and it is something I've spent a significant part of years I was given by the doctors in 2017 trying to make things right. He says, I condemn sexual assault in any way, shape, or form. I could and have written books, as have others, that have covered my transgressions. I've made some terrible decisions, but I've never forced myself on anyone in any way, period. Then he was removed from the Titanatron, the woo, that was cringy. But from the beginning of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown or whatever, he was removed from that for a while. People just looked at him in a different light. Now I want to share with you. Oh, and it's also the flight where Brock Lesnar got in. Not a real fight with Mr. Perfect here, Curt Hennig. He tried to take Brock Lesnar down, amateur wrestler and all this. They were testing each other out. It was all like in good fun. But this was a pretty serious one. So I went through something similar to Ric Flair. This was ironically around the same time frame. And what had happened with me, I was in my early 20s, and there was a girl that I was talking to on the phone through those back in the day, if you might remember, in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, there would be these dating chat line things that you could do, and it was over the phone before, the internet took off, before there was Facebook, Instagram, and all these kinds of things. So you don't really see literally who you're talking to. You don't know who you're talking to. And I was talking to this girl, and everything was normal. We got to know each other a little bit, no funny business. And then as time went on, coincidentally, without me knowing at first, I was, involved, shall we say, in, kind of like a relationship, a fling. I had a fling. I was single, had a fling with this girl that was around my age. And basically, her friend was this girl that I was getting to know on the phone, but I didn't know that. But it was brought to my attention from the girl that I was messing around with when she showed her friend a picture of the guy, me, that she had been getting to know. Oh, who's this guy that you've been getting to know? Blah, blah, blah. And her friend basically said, oh, that's interesting. Because that's the guy that, I don't want to say all the words on here because that they could get flagged on YouTube, but basically said that I took advantage of her. I never met her. But yet somehow I did that. And right away, I'm the dude, the shaved head, the tattoos, and all this shit. she's the girl, the blonde hair and all this crap. And basically just got thrown under the bus. Nobody took my side from that little group of friends that I was with the girl that I had to fling with and some of her friends, though I had never met or ever known that girl apart from talking to her on the phone. But originally, like I said, I didn't know it was the same girl. I didn't know the connection at the time. And yeah, then they would joke around. Oh, he's a, the R word, R-A-P, okay? Like, I'm not ashamed or afraid to say the word. It's YouTube again, okay? And it'd be like, oh, Phil, quit being such a, just messing around. I'm like, that's not a joke, because I did have somebody say that I did that to them when I had never even met them. So at one point I got a phone call on my cell phone, and it was some guys. It was cousins, brothers of the girl that supposedly I had done something to. And they were like, when we find you, we're going to kill you. I was like, great, here's my address. Come over. They're like, oh, tough guy, eh? I said, no, I'm not a tough guy. I've got nothing to hide. You want to do something about something that didn't happen, go right ahead. But you could bring all your friends, all the whatever it is you want to bring. I'm going to be right here by myself, and we're just going to see what happens. So when they got ready to go and were yelling at each other on the phone, you think you're a tough guy? You did this to my sister. I said I didn't do shit, bitch. Just back and forth yelling. I could hear the girl in the background say, stop, please stop. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm thinking to myself. And she's like, it never happened. And I was like, that's right. It never happened. But it took her family to look really serious to want to come and hunt me down. For her to be like, I made it all up. I was just messing around. I was angry because she found out that the guy that she liked on the phone was me. And I was basically, for the lack of a better term, I was boning her friend. I didn't do anything wrong. Okay? So sometimes that happens. I had a friend in high school that was a girl. And she told me that this guy took advantage of her. And I yelled at this guy. I slammed him up against the locker and everything. And I found out later that it wasn't true. And then I looked like a big jackass. He got really mad. He was supposed to be a friend of mine. I didn't give him the benefit of the doubt because I took this girl's word for it because she was closer to me as a friend than this guy. This guy wasn't really a friend of mine, but he was like a really good acquaintance, if you will. We partied together and stuff like that. And I never gave him the benefit of the doubt. It ended up being a really dear friend of mine that made up these allegations all because she was angry and she was drunk and they weren't getting along. And then as a result of that, because I kind of roughed him up a little bit, he was trying to send some of his bigger friends after me. And then it called a riffraff between me and some of my real friends that were friends with some of these people that were trying to get into a little tiffy-taff with me, whatever you want to call it. So the point is I always in these situations, any situation, this was a life lesson for me, is I just give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't care if it's Michael Jackson, if it's O.J. Simpson, if it's Donald Trump, if it's Biden. Sometimes the evidence is blatantly obvious, and that's great, but then sometimes people just don't see it. Kind of like in politics. Oh no, Trump did that shit. No, he didn't. Look at the evidence. People perceive things differently, okay? So I just give people the benefit of the doubt. I give the stewardess, whatever she's called from that plane ride, if I met her, I would say, I'm sorry that happened to you. You look really shaken up. But then if I saw Ric Flair, I would equally say, look, I'm sorry that these allegations were made against you, and I'm sorry to hear that. Giving both people the benefit of the doubt because I wasn't there. Tommy Dreamer said one thing. Other people said another that he didn't. He admits to flipping the thing around, but not actually put... again, at the end of the day and night, I was not there. I don't know what happened. It seems like everything got thrown out under the bus. All the allegations and stuff like that, and it's over and done with, and Ric Flair's back doing his thing. Whereas people like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and those high-caliber people that do some really disgusting things, those are like, nobody argues those, right? Because they were just caught red-handed. Though there's still some people that think Bill Cosby is innocent. Every case literally has to be analyzed individually. And I wish that I would have had given the same benefit of the doubt when I didn't. Another story that happened to me, and you might think, my God, dude, no wonder you don't believe in karma. And I always say karma's a bitch because she's unfair. She'll go after people even if you didn't do anything wrong. Even if you're not a terrible person, you could still have a lot of terrible things done to you. Arguably, the biggest rumor that ever went around was before this incident, a couple of years before, in the early 2000s, so about 24 years ago. I was living with a friend of mine, and I was pretty much like living on the street, and he took me in his house. His father had just passed away, and he had a hockey jersey, and it ended up getting stolen. But in that house, we had real gang members, people that I had grown up with that I didn't know were part of a real gang. And I wasn't in a gang. At that time, I was just right before my recovery from quitting drinking, popping pills and tranquilizers and all that kind of stuff. I was the only person that wasn't in a gang apart from my friend whose house I was living in, and it got turned into a gang house. Try to make a long story short, the jersey went missing because it was autographed by the player, and it was worth quite a few $1,000s. It ends up that the guy spilled the information to some girls at a bar who, again, small world, knew the guy I was living with, admitted that he took the jersey and he pinned it on me because it was easy to pin it on me because I was the drunken, broken down fool that slept all day, had no job, was a complete loser in that regards. So it was easy to pin it on me and say, oh, I mean, he must have done it because he was desperate for more, morphine or whatever else other stuff I was doing. So that was one of the worst actually of my life, because no matter where I would go, people would follow me, try and run me off the side of the road. I didn't have my own car at the time. I was still walking or taking the bus. And it was just terrible that a lot of my friends that were super close to me, again, didn't give me the benefit of the doubt. Again, people just threw me under the bus. And then I one day was driving my friend's car, and she lent me her car. She was with me. We were driving. And I saw the guy who to this day I still talk to. And I saw him alone on the bridge. I stopped the car and I said, this is my chance. This was the guy's house that I lived with. He never said I took his jersey. It was just said that I took it, but he never actually blamed me. But he couldn't really say anything because he wasn't a part of the gang. So he was just kind of like smiling and nodding. And I said, dude, man, I haven't seen you since this whole thing. It was such a tense moment, but it really wasn't. I was like, dude, I'm just alone with a girl. I'm not here to hurt you. Do you want to get in the car so we could talk? And right away he's like, dude, man, I know you didn't take it. Like, he just knew I didn't. And it got so bad that there was actually a biker. I was living at a Salvation Army. I don't know if you know what that is if you're from the States. It's a men's hostel. And because I left that house because I was fearful for my life, because I also almost got killed on Christmas Eve of 2000. Left me almost paralyzed. And that's where I fully tore my rotator cuff and had some other injuries. And I got woken up in the middle of the night with one of these right to my head, with a pillow over my head. And the guy wakes me up and he goes, shh, just like you would see in the movies. And I'm like, I'm like, wow, what the hell's going on? And he goes, gun, puts it back down. First of all, it was a miracle that he was even able to get into the building, because if you've ever been to a hostel, you can't just walk upstairs and go to people's rooms. So I don't know what he said or did, but he was able to get in, and he said, there's a hit on you, and I'm supposed to be doing this, but I know that you didn't do it. The reason he got involved is because the person that pinned me, who's now dead, by the way, not because of me, he got into an accident. He was in the back of a pickup truck, got knocked out of the back of the pickup truck on a highway, dead. He was a part of, a group of bikers. No names need to be mentioned. And he told me, he's like, this person is the reason why we're short on money. So he screwed up. He took the jersey and tried to pawn it off to get some money, was the story that was given to me. So to this day, in some ways I can laugh and say I have a little bit of PTSD with trusting people, because these are just some of the events that I've been through in my life where people didn't give me the benefit of the doubt. Now people are talking to me The main guy apologized to me. He's like, look, man, I'm sorry that all that stuff went down with you. I never thought that it was you, but I didn't have the power to say anything. The other people never apologized. The main person that pinned it on me, I saw him a couple of times. It was really awkward. He cornered me in a parking lot once with like 30 or 40 people at like a McDonald's at like 11 o'clock at night. I was off taking a bus to go, again, meet another girl. And he just cornered me. He's like, oh, so where are you going? I was like, no matter how strong you are, how well you can fight, when you've literally got a parking lot full of cars with people, I don't care how badass you are. I mean, even Bruce Lee got his ass whooped when he got swarmed. But he let me go. He gave me a little bit of a rough chat. It wasn't really nice. Told me to go on and do my thing. Didn't lay a finger on me. But when I was in that house, though, before I left to that hostel, I was in a wheelchair from my car accident. And I got flipped out of my wheelchair, and his right-hand man, I'll never forget him, had a pair of scissors right to my neck. Says, you don't get that jersey by sunrise tomorrow, or something along those lines. And I'm going to cut out your jugular. So, just some real, like, serious stuff. Like I said, I've moved around a lot. I've had a hard time sometimes making friends for a long time and holding on to them because I'm always moving around. It's only been in the last few years of my life that I've been able to stay calm, relaxed, and not move. I don't really hang around with people. I don't really trust people. I talk to people online. There's enough drama on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. In Facebook, I don't really need to hang out with too many people in person. I know that there's good people out there, but bad luck has followed me through and through everywhere. I've been accused of saying and doing all these terrible things. None of those things have I ever said and done, ever. And sometimes people could be like, well, that's hard to believe. You got accused of this a couple times. You've been accused of saying that a couple of times. You've moved to different cities. The same thing happens to you. But you're apparently just this great guy that doesn't bring harm onto others. And I'm like, yeah. And quite frankly, I don't need anybody to believe me. But the reason is, for how I am, as to when I hear stories like this, people could be like, dude, how do you not see it? It's not necessarily that I don't see it. There could have been a potential there. He was intoxicated. He admitted he had his robe open, flipping around the sausage like a helicopter. But I wasn't there. I would want Rick to give me, or anybody else, to give me the benefit of the doubt that what it was I supposedly said and done wasn't true. I don't want to be looked at differently, even though I don't care what people think. But people are trying to run you off the side of the road or threatening to shoot you, that's a very serious thing. Those are serious, serious threats, right? And I've had a few people apologize, but for the most part, most people have just brushed it off. They talk to me now if we message each other. We'll chat back and forth like it never happened, because this was a long time ago. But most of them never apologized for saying, look, man, I'm sorry I never gave you the benefit of the doubt. They didn't do that. Very few people did. Those people I'm holding on to for dear life. Those are some good people. To be able to admit that they did wrong. They're like, look, I just didn't know who to believe. And people sometimes, I think the moral of the lesson here is you don't always have to pick a side. So right now it's Ric Flair versus the air flight attendant. You don't have to pick a side. You can remain neutral. You can be a fence sitter and be like, look, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I don't feel like I have the 100% conviction to say he must have done that shit. And that's the end of it. Right? So that's why it's so simple. Like I said, some of these short stories that I shared with you, unfortunately, those are just some. There's been other incidents, not necessarily just relating with me. Like I said, there was with my friend who accused another person of doing something, and my friend, she lied, like I said. So whether it had to do with me or didn't have to do with me directly, I have a few more of these stories, but I think I've shared enough to paint the picture as to just why I give people the benefit of the doubt. I just find it's a better world that way. You're not dismissing that he may or may not have done something. You're keeping it in the back of your mind, but you're not judging the person. You're 100% interacting. Well, not that I interact with Ric Flair. I mean, on Twitter, but doesn't really reply back like Sergeant Slaughter does. Although Charlotte has a couple of times. That's just why I do that. And then I look a little bit at the body language, watch how he responds and stuff like that, and I kind of go, you know what, that seems to be pretty believable. Sometimes you can read body language, and you can just tell if someone's full of shit or not. Sometimes you read people wrong. Sometimes they look all like me, like I blink all the time and stuff like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So that's why I do that. You may feel differently, and you know what? That's okay. You could say to me, you know what? I personally don't like Ric Flair. After that story, you could say to me, I just don't like him anymore. I don't trust him, and that's fine. You're allowed to feel that way. You know what I mean? But I'm also allowed to feel the way that I do, right? The same thing with politics. Some people like Trump, some people don't. I have mixed feelings on him. To give you an example, I respect people that despise him and that both love him. I'm just very laid back and easy to get along with when it comes to that stuff. It's such a trivial thing to me that I don't let stuff like that divide me from other people. I do have some pretty decent friendships online with some people, and I don't want to have that tarnished over some bullshit. Like even like this. Oh my god, dude, you're not defending, but you're not attacking Ric Flair. You're neutral with him. What the hell is that? How can you not see it the way it is? It's like, I just don't see it the way you do. And I don't have to, and you don't have to see it the way that I do. It's really just that fucking simple. And you can apply that lesson across anything. It doesn't just have to be allegations of abuse. It could just be anything. Literally anything. It's okay to see things differently, even if it to you it's crystal clear in 6 billion colors. Beautiful painted picture. It's just there. There's the evidence for you. There's always going to be somebody out there that just doesn't see it the way you do. First off, there are people that are colorblind. The sky's not blue for everybody. We know the sky's blue, but some people see the sky as pink or purple or green. Okay? Are they wrong? No, because that's really how they see it. It's not factually, scientifically blue, right? But for them, they do see it a different way, and it's really not a big deal. I've met flat earthers. I laugh, but I don't attack them if they don't attack me, right? It's like, here's why I don't think it's here's why I don't think it's flat. I've been over 40,000 feet in outer space. Well, not quite outer space, but getting pretty freaking close to it. And I mean, I was so high up in the atmosphere that I could actually see. You know what I mean? Like our Earth curving. Like I could see that it wasn't just flat like a Rubik's Cube. The Earth is not flat. And so I tell people that. And it's very rare, but you'll come across the odd ones. I don't know, man. It seems like bullshit to me. But I guess it's possible or whatever. And they share with me maybe why they think the Earth is flat. And I give them a voice and I let them talk. And I don't ridicule them. I might still poke a little fun at them and have a little laugh, lighthearted humor, but because I gave them a platform to speak and I didn't interrupt them, it plants a seed. Oh, this guy seems all right. I mean, he doesn't believe anything I'm saying, but he's still allowing me to speak. And in return, for the most part, for any type of conversation, I usually end up being able to share my piece. And then we might do that thing where we agree to disagree. But at least we were civil, we were respectful, and then I could end up finding another person to chat with that agrees with everything I say, but they're a fucking complete jackass, nincompoop, dingleberry shitstain that I want nothing to do with. And then I end up wanting to rather have a conversation with Flat Earther. You know what I mean? We know he's wrong, but he was more respectful. So that's kind of a big thing. Like I said, you don't even really have to get along or see things eye to eye that necessarily even have decent conversations. Anyways, I'm kind of going all over the place, but like I said, my experiences, your experience, everybody's experiences will usually shape who you are, and there'll be some incidents that you go through in your life that'll make you the way that you are, that had you not have gone through some of those incidents, you may have been slightly a different person, you may have thought of things in a slightly different way. And that's just it. This was supposed to be like a 2-minute video. We both know it wasn't going to be 2 minutes. I'd like to think I got to the point relatively quickly. But yeah, like I said, obviously I hope it's not true. for the sake of the flight attendant and obviously for Rick. And if it is true, well, then obviously that naturally sucks. And then if I knew for sure that he was guilty, well, then yeah, I would unfortunately lose respect for him. There's no doubt about that, right? So there it is. You can let me know what you think about the plane ride from hell in general. Ric Flair, what do you think of him in regards to these allegations? Do you get that feeling, that vibe that he's guilty, that he isn't? What's your take on it? Does it bother you if how you see it is different than how somebody else sees it when you converse with them? Does that make you bitter and not want to talk to that person? Like I said, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. There's bigger important things to worry about than somebody else's difference in their views, really. Thumbs up if you liked the video. It does greatly help. Support the channel with the algorithm. You didn't like the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs down. I'll bend it in half, twist it, and break off a solo Sokoa Samoan spike right in your ass, which I guess would be, not all that great to do to you, considering the topic of conversation of today's video. But with my sick, twisted, dark sense of humor, I'm still going to go there. But it won't be me doing it. It is Solo Sokoa. I grab his arm. I'm not my thumb in there, right? So I can't be held liable for that. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, naturally, that would be great. You could tell I'm trying to be like Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle. It's not really necessarily working out that great. But those are people that I really like. I've always wanted to be a comedian, have that dry, sarcastic, dark sense of humor. Sometimes people don't really pick up on it, and they're like, this guy's a little bit, which that is a fair analysis. Anyways, you like the video? No, sorry. You want to subscribe? Naturally, that would be great. And if not, trust me, I get it. BDE, Small Afro, Assemble. Like, there's so many wrestling YouTubers out there. There's Chris Fish Fillet. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many of them. It's right. But I still enjoy this. Like I said, I'm worth $22 a month on here. I've been on my wrestling channel for almost a year already. I'm having a lot of fun. Even though it makes me nothing compared to my main channel, I enjoy this so much. Whether I'm playing wrestling, whether I'm recapping Raw or a pay-per-view, or talking about something serious like this, I really enjoy this more than you'll probably ever know. Probably will never make a living at it. I'll probably never make a couple of $1,000 a month doing it, but I won't know if I don't give it my all. That's all I know, right? I talked about it for over 15 years, procrastinated, going, nobody's going to want to listen to me. And that wasn't too far from the truth. There's not that many people that listen to me now, but again, $20 a month is $20 a month. $500-600 a month from my other channels, $500-600. You know, it all adds up, right? So if I can get closer to the $1,000 a month, that'd be my cash for life. So take care, and maybe I'll see some of you in the next one. Bye for now.